This might get past Glenn and the consent agenda, so
You're recording?
it may be really quick. Okay, you ready?
Your mic.
My mic.
You're on.
Oh, covered up. Okay, I'll call a meeting to order, Natrona County Commissioners, November 17th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Mill?
Here.
Commissioner Bertoglio?
Here.
Commissioner Chadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Cochran?
Here.
Chairman Henry?
Here. Okay, could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first we have the consent agenda. Everybody's got a copy of that.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pass the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Glenn, I told you it'd be short and sweet.
I always like, Mr. Chairman, that if I ask for something, I'd like to be here in case there's any questions, so
Okay.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next we'll move to public hearings. These public hearings will be held in accordance with Natrona County regulation and rules of the state of Wyoming. Anyone wishing to speak about these items may come up to the lectern. Give your full name and address for the record. First, we have the first one is tabled. CUP 20-7 is tabled. We've got CUP 20-9, a request to allow storage of collector cars. Is there a report from staff?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. CUP 20-9 is a conditional use permit request, an application by Robert Crow. Request and location. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow the storage up to 15 collector cars. The applicant owns 120 acres, approximately 13 miles west of the airport. All zoning is RAM. This property is located as you head west of town. You go past the airport, you head west, and you come across the old stone ranch at the bottom of the hill. And then when you get right at the crest of the hill, there was a cell tower that was recently constructed. This subject property is just on what I'm going to refer to as the east side of the road, or the right-hand side of the road at that location. Here again, you can see the 120 acres highlighted in red. Here you can see an aerial of this subject property. So what the applicant is proposing is a storage area, 30 by 30, a solid fenced-in area there to store up to 15 collector cars. He restores cars. He has several of them, and he would like to keep these cars located in this area. This is looking at his property from the highway toward the house. And this is in the back where he would propose to store the 15 cars. So you can see there's screening that's set up by the container units and the orientation of the buildings there, but this is behind it. He would then install a fence around the areas that are not screened by the other objects there. And he's talking about, or proposed, a solid wood fence is what is proposed. This is looking north from the storage location, so the nearest neighbor is considerably to the north. You'll see remnants of a trailer there that's actually in the picture, and that's a mobile home that he has cleaned up off the property. This is looking west from the back of the property. So this is probably the angle where the storage area is probably the most visible, is when you're coming into town from Out west, you're headed east into Casper. You can see behind those buildings for a short distance. And again, he's proposing a solid wood fence along that area to screen that. Collector car additional showings. The applicant must provide a screening plan that has been approved by the Development Department. He has done that and we have approved that. The applicant plans to install a solid wood fence storage area and utilize the existing storage containers as screening. The applicant must demonstrate there is sufficient acreage to be covered by the collector car permit. The applicant owns 120 acres. The board shall determine the maximum number of collector cars that may be stored on the property covered by the permit. The applicant is requesting 15, up to 15. Conditional use permit criteria. This is the same as our other standard conditional use permits. We're required to file showings concerning all of the following. 1, will granting the CUP contribute to an overburden of county services? Proposed finding of fact, the storage of vehicles will not contribute to an overburdening of county services. The applicant does not require county services. The Natrona County Fire Marshal did not have any concerns with this application, so we shared this with Natrona County Fire and they did not have any concerns. Will granting the CUP cause undue traffic, parking, population density, or environmental problems? Staff's proposed finding of fact, the storage of vehicles will not cause undue traffic, parking, or population density. The applicant has drained the fluids and will not cause environmental problems. So consistent with what we've done with other collector car applications in the past, he will be draining the fluids and storing the cars in such a manner to prevent future deterioration. So he's not selling parts, he just stores the vehicles and they store them in such a manner that we're not causing further deterioration. Will granting the CUP impair the use of adjacent property or alter the character of the neighborhood? Staff's proposed finding of fact, the approved permit will not impair adjacent properties or alter the character of the neighborhood. The applicant owns 120 acres of land and will store the vehicles behind his home in a fenced-in area. Will granting the CUP detrimentally affect the public health, safety, and welfare or nullify the intent of the development plan or the zoning resolution? Proposed finding of fact, approval of the CUP will not detrimentally affect the public health, safety, and welfare or nullify the intent of the development plan. With improved CUP, the vehicle storage will be compliant with the development plan. To date, Natrona County Development Department has received no comments on this agenda item. Staff sent out notices to 5 neighbors within 1/4 mile. At their October 13th, 2020 meeting, Planning Commission acted to recommend approval of this agenda item by the Board of County Commissioners, incorporating findings of fact as presented by staff. We've worked with Mr. Crow over the years with his property. There's been a number of vehicles and piles of debris, and Mr. Crow has worked extensively to clean those up. And with this collector car CUP, he'll be able to consolidate the vehicles in the rear of the property and put screening around it. And staff also recommended approval of this at Planning and Zoning. So with that, I'd answer any questions the commission may have.
Is there any questions? Commissioner Chadwick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gutierrez, so what does the timeline look like? Typically, these have got some kind of timeline set with them. When would the construction begin? How long does he have to put it up, et cetera?
Kind of the standard that I can recall is 1 year. We'd given him a year to get the fencing and the vehicles arranged. So that's what we would look for this to get the screening in place. We'd evaluate it at 1 year and make sure the screening and that was in place.
Okay, and should the applicant not attain those goals, what are the ramifications?
So this 1 year to get the screening established would be a condition of the conditional use permit. So if he did not follow those conditions, then we could work through a process to revoke the conditional use permit.
And if it's revoked, what happens as a result?
So under current zoning resolution, he's only allowed to have 4 unlicensed vehicles out there. So to become compliant, he would have to remove all the vehicles but 4.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add that Mr. Crow was in attendance at the planning and zoning. He's had a pretty traumatic family event right now, and so he is not in attendance tonight, or otherwise he would be, but it's pretty severe family experience, so that's why he's not here tonight.
Okay. Anyone else, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? I'll close this public hearing. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
let me get my specs on here. I move to approve CUP 20-9 to include the findings of fact.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? I would add one thing, the property really is cleaned up out there, and I'm glad to see that this is behind the house. It'll kind of be behind the house and down over the hill. You really can't see it from the highway unless you really look for it. There is a stretch you can see it, but if it's got the fence around it, I think it'll look all right. So, all those in favor of CUP 20-9, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next one on the list is CUP 20-10. Allow the extension of an existing Mountain West Tower. Is there a report?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we've combined two of the hearings together in one presentation, 20-10 and 20-11.
Okay.
Of course, we'd want separate motions when we get to the end, but they're identical other than the location, so we've combined them together.
Okay,
The CUP 20-10 and 20-11 are conditional use permits to extend existing towers to provide broadband and telephone services, an application by Tim Meads with Mountain West Technologies. Location and zoning, 20-10 is located just north of the intersection of Garbett Road and 33 Mile Road. So that's just west of the airport. You take the first right onto 33 and you're going to head till it intersects with Garbett Road at roughly the Bressler Ranch, the crest of the hill. The subject parcel and all the parcels surrounding it are zoned urban ag. CUP 20-11 is located north of Bessemer Bend and 12 Mile intersections. So that is off of 220 in the Bessemer area, off of 12 and Bessemer Bend. Subject parcels and our surrounding parcels are zoned urban ag in that instance also. Vicinity map of 20-10, you can see there it's the green dot. Again, that's where 33 Mile intersects with Garbett at the kind of the top of the hill, roughly the Bressler Ranch. 20-11 is located where Bessemer comes around, and then you head on 12 Mile Road there to the north, and it's located there on the west side of the road. You can see the green dot. Both of these are existing towers, so they're already put in place. They were built under the exception where it's less 45 feet or less. It doesn't require a conditional use permit. Now they want to extend them higher, and that does require a conditional use permit. So anything greater than 45 feet does require a conditional use permit. Both of these towers, locations currently have 45-foot towers. These towers need to be extended to provide more coverage to the surrounding landowners. The application for a 65-foot tower, staff has requested an additional 20, so we would like to have it on the books where it's approved for an 85-foot total to accommodate any future needs. Same conditional use permit criteria we had for the collector car toward the end. Granting the CUP will not contribute an overburdening of county services. Staff's proposed finding of fact. Granting the conditional use permit will not contribute to an overburdening of county services. County services and infrastructure will not be necessary for this permit. This tower will replace an existing tower. Granting the CUP will not cause undue traffic, parking, population density, or environmental problems. Staff's proposed finding of fact. The facility is unmanned and will not cause undue traffic or parking. Routine maintenance for the tower will be limited. There will be no effects to population density. Granting the CUP will not impair the use of adjacent property or alter the character of the neighborhood. Staff's proposed finding of fact. Both of these towers are considered part of the character of the neighborhood. The request to extend the existing tower, there'll be no new impairments. Both of these towers have been in place for some number of years. We have not received any complaints. They're providing internet, broadband, and I believe in the next slide here, you'll see it, 911 service through this. The residents can tie in their phone service to this service, so it does provide some 911 capabilities to residents in the areas of these towers that subscribe to the services. Granting the CUP will not detrimentally affect the public health, safety, and welfare or nullify the intent of the development plan or the zoning resolution. With an approved CUP, the tower will comply with the zoning resolution and development plan. These sites provide coverage to residents and provide for valuable E911 services. Public comment. To date, Natrona County Development has received no comments on these proposals. Both applications had letters sent out to adjacent property owners. At their October 13th, 2020 meeting, the Planning Commission acted to recommend approval of these agenda items by the Board of County Commissioners and incorporate the findings of fact as presented by staff. With that, I'd answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Is there any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. I'll open the public hearing for CUP 20-10 and CUP 20-11. Is there any public comment in favor?
Hello, Tim Meads, 3015 Cotton Creek Place, Casper. I'm a representative of Mountain West. Wanted to be present and make sure that there isn't any questions or any kind of further information that you guys may have needed on this situation.
Okay, so you are in favor of it?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Is there any question? All right.
So
thank-
like the-
Yep, yes, there is. Commissioner Milne.
The 85-foot projected potential for the Bessemer Tower, is that in the plans one day, or? I'm just
depends.
asking out of my
Out of
personal
Okay.
curiosity, because 65-foot, I still won't be able to see it.
Where are you at is the question.
I'm in a hole.
We've got a tower that's on the Red Butte Ranch right now. We recently purchased a Lurtec, so we have a tower that is located on top of Bessemer Mountain out there, that lovely mountain that blocks everything.
Yeah, I'm
And
getting
then there's
everything
also
from
a
the
tower
school.
there's a tower that's going right next to the school that we're currently building as part of the CARES grant that we received a few months ago. So there's going to be quite a bit of coverage, and we're bringing several hundred megs of service out there. So you're going to have a lot of coverage. If you can't see it right now, we'll find a way to get you service. Just give
Sounds
us a
good to
call
me.
and we'll make it work for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll follow up on Commissioner Milne's question then. You've got a tower on 12 Mile, and you got a tower, well, the one out at Bressler's wouldn't count, but the one on 12 Mile, if you've got a tower on top of Bessemer Mountain, why would you need to raise the one on 12 Mile?
The
'Cause
one
they had
that's
to
up there
log-
right now currently only has solar power to it right now. The only AC power that's on top of that mountain is with Union Telephone, and they're not willing to share. To get up there is a substantial amount of money that would be involved in order to make that work. Because of that, there's limitations to the amount of equipment that's actually up there. So we would reserve access to that tower site for relays of communication to other local towers, and then to folks that can't see anything else. The idea is if we can get towers that are closer to the users, we can get better bandwidth to them, more bandwidth for all of the activities that everybody's now using in this day and age and may use in the future, as well as to kind of spread out the consumption to make things a little bit easier on it. Those tower sites that are currently there, the one that is on 12 Mile on the Bressler Ranch, and the one that's going out into Poison Spider as well as Red Butte Ranch, is fed off of a bluff out of Goose Egg. It's right on the rim, kind of on the side towards the river. That one also is a solar fed site, but it has more power accessible to that. So we're able to feed the other towers that way and keep the power consumption minimal on top of that mountain.
But there is electric power on top of Bessemer Mountain?
Most definitely, Union Drug, my understanding is they took a D9 and drove down the side of the mountain with some cable and hauled electricity up there on their own.
So if you wanted to plug into that electricity, you help pay part of the cabling?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that would go through. My understanding is they put it up there privately, and there's a transformer that's down on what was the Stockup's property at one point in time, but that's
Okay.
where that ties into. So if we were to get power, we would have to find a transformer that was close and then take the cable up there ourselves, and of course, that's not really feasible in our current business plan.
Okay, so the tower you're saying on Bessemer Mountain is on the east side of the road?
It's on the west side of the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on
And
that.
Stockup's own some of that down there?
Yeah, they're on the other side of the mountain, yes.
Okay.
So as you're going out towards the lake to
Yeah, I
the,
was thinking they were on the other side.
yep.
They own both sides. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, I'll close the public hearing on both of them. Is there any questions on CUP 20-10? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve CUP 20-10 along with findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pass CUP 20-10. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Now, is there a motion on CUP 20-11?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to accept CUP 20-11 with recommended finding of fact.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Other discussion? All those in favor of 20-11, CUP 20-11, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next we have a zoning change, 20-4. Is there a report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ZC 20-4, that's a request for a zone change, an application by Nancy Vermillion to change the zoning district classification from UMR to Rural Residential 1 for 3 lots in the Schlager subdivision. So the 3 highlighted lots here are part of this application tonight. If you recall, a few meetings ago, we approved the zone change further to the south in a large block. Let me see if I got that. Here we go. So there in the beige color was recently approved, and what's before us tonight is the highlighted in the red. It turned into 2 separate applications because of timing with signatures, and then we're not a contiguous block either. There is one strip in there that wishes to remain UMR. So there are 3 owners as part of this zone change request. According to the landowners in this area, the residents have always kept agricultural and 4-H animals. Due to a recent request for zoning, the residents were informed that animals 4-H are not permitted in UMR without a conditional use permit. It was agreed that a zone change would comply with the development plan and achieve the goals of the landowners and the goal of allowing animals and 4-H activities. The Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners recently approved a similar zone change for 16 lots south of this request. So this has not historically been a troubled neighborhood for our code enforcement, so we're not out there routinely checking. And it was during the sale of a property that the zoning was checked, and it was discovered by the landowners that they could not have animals without having a conditional use permit. So the residents contacted us, we worked with the residents, and a zone change was really the best choice, and it worked out well there further to the south, and we approved it then to Rural Residential 1 from UMR. This is as we look north at the subject properties. So this is out off of 10 Mile. So we're going to go out to the airport at the intersection of 33 and 10 Mile. We're going to make a left, and we're going to go south onto 10 Mile, and then down 10 Mile, and then Schlager over to these subject properties. This is looking to the northeast. Looking to the south, it's really a typical Natrona County subdivision in the rural area. The Planning Commission and the Board shall require that an applicant provide evidence that the proposed zone change will meet at least one of the following criteria. So you can see here there's a number of criteria that are listed in your packet and in our zoning resolution. Applicant is seeking the zone change under criteria number 3. This is the land may have been rezoned to urban mixed residential as a mistake. The landowners would argue that they've always had animals even before the zone change, and so when that was zone changed to UMR, that was a mistake. All the properties in the Schlager subdivision and the subsequent lot splits have historically been used and are currently being used as rural residential properties, including the housing and raising of livestock and horses. The property owners would like to legally enjoy the use of their land. Staff's finding, the 2016 development plan for this area is to maintain agricultural lands and county roads. The zone change will increase the minimum lot size for the area to support the development plan with low-density residential. The minimum district size is 15 acres in rural residential. The applicant requesting is above the minimum, so this would not be considered a spot zone. As of tonight's meeting, no comments have been received. The Development Department notified 34 property owners within 1 mile. At their October 13th, 2020 meeting, the Planning Commission acted to recommend approval of this agenda item by the Board of County Commissioners, incorporating findings of fact as presented by staff. I did go out and personally speak with the one property owner not involved with this zone change, and they are not. They intentionally have made the decision not to be part of this zone change. They came from ag backgrounds, and they do not want to have animals on their property, but they also don't want to publicly criticize their neighbors for wanting to have them. They can respect the idea that the neighbors would want to have animals, but they don't want to have animals. And so them not being part of the zone change was an intentional decision they made based upon the facts. I showed them the sheets between the two, and it does not make it a spot zone, and it can exist in this new configuration without any conflicts. With that, I'd answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for staff? Yeah, I just was looking at the aerial. It looks like there's been livestock there for quite a while.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah.
a number of these lots in here that are irrigated through Casper Alcova irrigation. They are well-kept properties out there. This is not a code enforcement neighborhood at all. And so it's a good area.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I guess I do have one quick
Commissioner
question.
Bertolio.
In looking at this, is there more lots that probably should be rezoned? In reading the history, it sounds like they probably should have been this way in the first place when we rezoned or in 2000 did the zoning. Is there a significant number of lots out there that probably are improperly zoned at this point?
You know, we'll sure take a look at our map. This will take care of this neighborhood, but you bring up a great point, and we'll look at the map and see if there's other areas of UMR that should have been should have been zoned RR1.
Mr. Chairman, I guess if we instituted the zone and it's incorrect, I think we should institute the correction and not have the property owners actually have to go through our gauntlet, so to speak, a process to do it. So, just a thought.
Other discussion? Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Linda Tasler, 3478 Schlager Road. I'm here representing Nancy because she couldn't make it tonight, and we just want to get her done.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Well, thanks for coming. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? I'll end the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I've moved to approve ZC 20-4 along with findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded to approve zone change 20-4. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Next is public comment. Is there anybody out there for public comment? Commissioner's comment. Commissioner Milne.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Commissioner Bertolio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Mr. Nelson.
Yeah. Is Mr. Nelson there?
He's got to get his mouse.
Eric.
So we just received notification of the mandatory mask requirement being approved by Dr. Harris, but we have never actually seen what was submitted. Is this similar to Laramie's ordinance or the submittal that Laramie County made, or is it beyond that? Could you kind of fill us in? Because we're going to get hit by the media. We didn't have anything to do with the submittal, and we have no idea what's in it. You're still
on
muted. You're still muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you go.
now.
Thank you.
Oh, now it's good. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So I, just prior to the start of this meeting, I did have some correspondence with Dr. Dowell and Anna Kinder at the Health Department. I actually had a conversation with Director Ceballos as well. He indicated that Dr. Harris did approve, I think, 8 mask mandates for various counties across the state today. This was in response to the letter that was signed off by various county health officers requesting it. I was not privy to that letter, and I have not seen the order that was approved by Dr. Harris. I do know that Dr. Dowell has received it. I've asked for a copy. As soon as I get it, I'll review it and let you all know. But that was something that I think the county health officer, along with health officers of numerous other counties, requested and were involved in. So I don't think neither I nor Ms. Kinder were directly involved. I would anticipate it would be along the same lines as has been approved in other counties. But just as soon as I get those details, we'll be figuring out how to push that information out to the public.
Thank you.
Other questions about that? Yeah, Commissioner Kaufman.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up for Eric, so I just read on trib.com that it could go into effect as early as Wednesday, which obviously is tomorrow. So I'm assuming we'll know more by the time it would be instituted in the county.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Kaufman, yeah, that would be my hope prior to it being going into effect. I anticipate I'll have an opportunity to see it, brief not only the elected officials, but I think we'll be planning some type of either press release or press conference to get that information out. At this point, I don't know the scope of the order, specifically when it goes into effect, how long it's in effect for. Those details I just don't have at this point.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for your comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, no.
Okay. Commissioner Chadwick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a very meaningful comment tonight. It's something that we've been working on at the NACO level mostly for several years. And a lot of the public knows that Senator Barrasso has taken a no net gain position on federal lands acquisitions. And the Public Lands Committee, NACO Public Lands Committee, which I am a member of, has been pursuing this for many years, actually. But I have to read this. It's from Jonathan Sheffield, the Associate Legislative Director for the National Association of Counties. And it says, "Good afternoon, PLSC and WIR board members. Today, the Department of Interior released the following secretarial order related to LWCF funds and land acquisitions." And it's got a link so that you can read the entire order. And so that everybody knows what LWCF is, that's Land and Water Conservation Funds. And those are monies that come from taxes on offshore oil and gas production. And it's supposed to be used largely for recreational, not only enhancements, but maintenance also. So, what it says, under this order, Department of Interior will have to seek and receive the explicit written support of the impacted governor and county government before federal LWCF funds can be used to acquire a new parcel of land. We have been working with the administration since the Great American Outdoors Act was signed to implement some sideboards to ensure public lands counties have an elevated voice in federal land acquisitions. It's a significant step for county governments. And an ideal example of what this means is, you may remember that here a couple of years ago, the Bureau of Land Management purchased approximately 800 acres on the west side of Casper for recreational purposes using LWCF funds. Had this been in place at that time, they would have had to come to us and requested our written consent. We could have used this as leverage to do several things. For example, Green River, Wyoming, and specifically Green River, is landlocked. There is no more private land for the city of Green River to expand. Rock Springs is mostly landlocked. We could have insisted that, and used this as leverage, that the BLM make available in one or both of those areas lands equal to in value what this property here was bought for. Now, not that they would give it away, but they would have to make it available. And I think something like that would very likely happen and allow those municipalities the ability to expand. So this is something that we've been after for a long time. It doesn't necessarily achieve the goal of no net gain, but this may be even better. And that's all I have.
Well, it is really important, and it's good that they did it. They can use those land and water conservation funds for a lot of tricky deals.
Yes.
And it's good. Hopefully that's one of the items that the president put in that may stay in. We never know on executive orders.
It could go away in about 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. As far as mine, we'll watch about the masks, but I will tell you that there's more and more people that are affected by COVID in this county. And Brooke, I'll get to you in just a minute. While we didn't pass the mask mandate, it is in effect, it sounds like, and we did pass it in the courthouse. It's just something that we can do. It's something we can do for our neighbors and for everybody else. And yeah, it may not be proven to work, but I think it'll help because our governor and what's the health officer from DC?
Oh,
They were in a meeting up there at Riverton, and the one person they were meeting with from the tribes was infected. Had they not been wearing masks, they all would have been infected. So the mask, I think the mask can pretty well be a good thing. And that might have proved it in my eyes, that proved it. And I'm sure the governor's thankful that he was wearing a mask. So it's what we can do for our neighbors too. Brooke, you have anything?
Just quickly, so our Director of Road and Bridge and Parks, Mike Hagler, gave us a nice update during work session today. So I'm sure many people in the community know that the lodge is down. But the good news is we've had a hard time kind of connecting on the temporary facility that'll be placed there. So we had heard from Mike today that will be Monday. Same thing. So I've heard some grumblings that, hey, the shelters are down and what the heck's the plan? So Mike is looking at some schematics, and obviously that process will be vetted as well, but the intention is to replace those shelters as well. So it's all forward movement and good things happening up on Casper Mountain. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The other thing I'd say is we've got about 7 to 8 people out, either quarantining from the county, either under quarantine or with COVID. And I'd like to wish them a speedy recovery. Hope everything goes okay for them, and I guess that's it. We're adjourned.
slam that.
Hey, Eric. We're adjourned.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. I got a call, or I heard from, you can go ahead.